Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs, and the room is stutters. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape for every one of us. I was kinda late, cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all, welcome to a brand new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. Of course, thank you guys so much for watching live or watching later whenever you can. Whenever this episode reaches you, I meet you and I greet you and I say, hey, we are up in here. And I am so happy to be on here on this Saturday evening to talk about the ins and outs of professional wrestling and all of my crazy adventures because last weekend I and my father went to Minneapolis for SummerSlam and we went to visit a lot of the landmarks for Prince as well. And Minneapolis was such a great time, and I can't wait to get into all of that. But I just have to say thank you so much for all the love and support that has been shown to me over the past couple of months, and even over the course of the last couple of weeks, as I've been undergoing another big life change. I have been surrounded by love and support from so many different people and places, and I just can't thank everyone enough. But I'm going to try to rise as much as I can and do the best that I can to push forward the way that I was taught to do and just continue to just be myself because at the end of the day, that's all I can do. But thank you guys so much for all of that love and support and all the love that was shown on the trip as well. I got to run into a lot of wrestling creators in Minneapolis. Shout out to Mandy Nicole Sports. Shout out to Lip Gloss and Ladders. Just shout out to everyone who I got to, hold hands with, hug, and encourage, and all of the above. Just everyone that I got to see and meet. I was just really happy to be there. But before we get further into everything that happened in wrestling that I have opinions about, we got to start with news and gossipish. And the first thing, and probably one of the most important things that we have to do on this show is to send congratulations and love to the EST, Bianca Belair, and her husband, one half of the Street Profits, Montez Ford, on the arrival of their baby boy, whose name is, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, because it hasn't really been made public as to how his name is to be pronounced. But they made a post a few days ago saying, welcome to the world, Romeo, Leonardo Allen Crawford. So the baby was delivered safe and sound, as far as we know. And it was just so lovely that they took some pictures of the little boy's feet and of the little boy's head of hair. And they also showed pictures of Bianca and Montez in the hospital with Montez's other children from a previous relationship enjoying the presence of the new baby boy. And it was just so sweet to see. So, of course, Bianca and Montez wouldn't be Bianca and Montez if everybody in the pictures weren't matching and in a matching outfit. And that's exactly what it was giving. I love seeing these posts and I am just so happy for them. They are a family full of love and fun times. And this baby boy is going to be surrounded by the best parents. I just feel it in my bones. So I just wanted to say congratulations to them. I love them as an amazing couple. And now they are parents. Montez for the third time, but Bianca for the very first time. And I'm just so thrilled for them. And then it's just so funny because in the grand scheme of everything, every member of the big three, something that a lot of people were saying on Twitter, every member of the big three of WWE with Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi are all mothers now. Now, of course, Jade had been a mother for a longer period of time, but now Naomi has had her child, and now Bianca has had hers. So it looks like there's something about the energy that Jade brings that just brings out motherhood. I don't know, but I just think that that's a very interesting a little tidbit, the fact that every member of the big three are all moms now. So congratulations to all of them just being iconic, badass black women in the ring, but then also turning around and creating the families that they want with their significant others. It's a very beautiful thing, and I'm just so happy for all of them and everything that they've done. And I'm just really pumped to see what comes next. A lot of people even thought that maybe Naomi would have come back at SummerSlam, but she did not. But I'm pretty sure whenever she does come back, it's going to blow our socks off and we're going to scream and cry and all the things. But congratulations to Bianca Belair and Montez Ford on the arrival of their new baby boy. Now, on the sad spectrum of wrestling news, we endured a loss in the form of Terry Funk Jr. Now, of course, this is more of another generation, sort of like the generation before my father, if not a little bit after my father. He was a part of the wrestling family with Terry Funk, and also his father, Dory Funk Sr. They have all now passed away, and Dory Funk Jr. passed away this week at the age of 85. He, of course, was the son and brother of Dory Sr. and Terry Funk, respectively, and he was a major star in the 1970s and 1980s who was soft spoken and a smack talker in the golden age that featured Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, and Jack Briscoe. So he was also born in Hammond, Indiana on February 3rd, 1941, and he was a college football player who joined the family business, Western State Sports, pounding his way to 4+ years as the NWA World Heavyweight Champion in 1969. And he also held belts as the WWC Universal Heavyweight Champion and the CWA World Heavyweight Champion as well. So we send our condolences to the Funk family because he did leave behind a wife and children and grandchildren. It's never easy losing someone in the wrestling community, regardless to what generation they're from. And it's never easy losing someone, period. But you just have to hope that on the other side that they have received a level of freedom and healing that could not be received on this side of the plane. And I hope he has gotten it. A lot of wrestlers said all kinds of good things about him. Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Mickey James, so many others had words of kindness to say, and you can visit their social media platforms to see. But I just wanted to send my condolences to the Funk family for that loss because it's very poignant. So rest in peace to Dory Funk Jr. And the rest of the Funk dynasty. We hold your name in high regard on HWP. Now, moving into possible contract news, Mara Sade, who was formerly known as Jakara Jackson in NXT, is moving on from TNA, which was really surprising to me because it seemed like when she first got there, she had found a little bit of her groove and more of her personality was popping out and everything. And it just seemed like she was one of my favorites to possibly go on to become the first ever knockout television champion, but she lost to Heather Reckless. Um, and now, well, not Heather Reckless, that's not her name anymore. I think Heather by Elegance is her name now. She lost in that tournament, and that turned out to be her final TNA televised match. And it is assumed and it's being highly reported that her next destination could be at AEW. Because if you may or may not know, she has been romantically tied to the TNT champion at AEW, Kevin Knight the Jet. So it would make sense, if they were at that company together. As a form of maintaining their relationship. But it was kind of sudden to me that she would leave, especially given all of the other news about TNA knockouts and other TNA talent leaving TNA. But and this bummed me out just a little bit, but I can't wait to see what she does next because she was always very talented to me. I wanted her to grow a lot more in NXT, especially in the tag team with Lash Legend. Um, I wanted them to go on and win the women's tag team titles so bad, but they never did. And the closest thing we got to them versus the big three was them versus Bianca Belair and Naomi. And that was a very killer match. But, I can't wait to see what Mara Sade does next because she's just always an intriguing watch and she just continues to get more and more confident in the ring. So I can't wait to see what she does next, wherever she goes, whether it's AEW or elsewhere. Because there was a part on NXT that did show Robert Stone, the GM, talking to a free agent. So it might be her, it might be somebody else, who knows? But either way, I'm pumped to see what she does next. Also, we had some more sad news in terms of injury involving Rhea Ripley, who I guess you could call the former WWE Women's Champion at this point. 2 days ago on Instagram, she posted a picture of her leg in a cast, and it's quoted as saying, "Life update. After just under 14 years in wrestling and doing sports my entire life, it's caught up to me. Surgery was never a first option for me, but it got to the point that it was needed. First one down, hopefully no more. I've survived. Now it's time to start thriving again so I can get back to doing what I love. See you all down the road." And this bummed me out because, of course, she couldn't be or participate in SummerSlam or have a challenger for her title because of that first injury that was reported on her. But now it seems that now that she's had major surgery, she's going to be out for a while. And you hate to see that because you hate it when anybody gets hurt, right? So the idea that we won't see her for a long time really sucks because she really is such a huge star and everyone really loves her. Like she is just an all-time favorite for a lot of people. But I do hope that she's getting the healing that she needs so that she can come back and rock our socks off and all of the things. So Rhea Ripley is out, it seems, but that's just the name of the game. And that's just how it is. And all we can do is just send her healing vibes. El Diamante, Alabama, hola. We need to do a podcast sometime. We really do, and I need to go to your restaurant too. Thank you for popping in and watching. I love you guys so much and everything you guys do. That is a lucha themed Mexican restaurant in Birmingham that just popped in and said hi, and I'm just so happy that they did that. And we do need to make that happen because yo, it's awesome. So big ups to Rhea, and I hope she gets better soon. Now, another piece of wrestling news that went viral over the week was the fact that Conrad Thompson, who I believe is a host on the 83 Weeks podcast with Eric Bischoff, made a statement and a very controversial quote saying that Roman Reigns is the most overrated main eventer in wrestling history. And this made everybody upset on wrestling Twitter and all of the above. They were just like, bro, like, what do you mean he's overrated? There are all these main events that he's had that are probably some of the greatest in the last 20 years. And it's so funny because it makes me think about how when him and CM Punk were beefing over the World Heavyweight Championship during WrestleMania time, one of the statements that CM Punk did make was just the fact that, you know, he was the fact that Roman Reigns has main evented WrestleMania so many times because WWE essentially kept giving him the ball because every other main event he had would always suck. And they just said, well, let's just keep giving him another chance. Let's just keep giving him another chance. But the thing is, I feel like over the last couple of years, we've seen an improvement. Not to say that he was ever a bad wrestler. He was never a bad wrestler, but I just don't agree with the notion that he's overrated. Um, he's a star and he is in that position. Not only just because, he's marketable, but also because he's a hard worker. And the idea that someone like him who has also overcome as much as he has, like in terms of cancer and all of the above, can continue to work hard and be as good as a wrestler as he is and main event so many times um, is pretty awesome. And I will never sit here and say that he's an overrated main eventer when I saw him main event against Cody Rhodes at LA, like in this picture. And that match was spectacular outside of the crazy interference that the Bloodline had going on at that time. That match was fantastic and probably one of the best main events I've ever seen. And then you also have his main event the year afterward with Cody Rhodes, even though it was a Bloodline Rules match, it was still pretty good. So, and then there's also the last match that he had with Seth Rollins and the one that he had at SummerSlam a few years back as well in 2021. Roman is not an overrated main eventer to me. I just don't agree with that notion. I don't agree with that sentiment at all. Um, I just feel like people get really hard on him and come down really hard on him just because number one, he's from a wrestling family, and number two, because for a while it seemed he was trying to find his identity on screen and he struggled to connect for a minute. And a lot of people hang the idea that he finally turned heel as the reason for his massive success now. And I'm just like, well, no, that's not just it. It's also just the fact that he worked hard to get to where he is. And he's a good wrestler. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we saying he's overrated? Like, I just feel like that was just a weird statement to make on a podcast that was hosted by a person who helped elevate a talent in the form of Goldberg, who by all accounts can be argued as an overrated talent, and only had a couple of moves in his arsenal and stuff like that. So I just think it was just really unnecessary for him to just come out and say something like that. But everybody's got an opinion, but everybody has the right to agree or disagree. And I disagree with that sentiment. I do not believe that Roman Reigns is overrated. I just don't. I just don't think he's an overrated main eventer. I don't. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. And finally, in news and gossipish, Jade Cargill was a part of a profile with Ebony Magazine, and she talked with Victor Quinnell Vaughns Jr. about her viral hair moment on WWE SmackDown and why Black women's hair needs no explanation. This was important for me, and it was very healing for me that Ebony Magazine, which is an amazing publication that highlights and platforms Black life and Black culture, having a conversation about this because I remember exactly when it happened. Jade was in a match and her wig came off. And because people are always watching Jade with an extra tight microscope, which irritates me to no end, whenever anything happens and she just so happens to make a mistake or something happens and a mistake happens, they always hone in on it and make it seem like she does not belong in wrestling because she always makes these mistakes. And my thing is, shit happens. Forgive me for cursing, but shit happens. And when you're wrestling and you're moving back and forth and tussling back and forth, every piece of your beauty isn't going to stay together. There have been times where I've seen Bianca Belair lose lashes. There have been times where there was one time in particular where I remember Jada Parker had to snatch off a ponytail because it wouldn't stay on. I mean, if you're moving back and forth, the outfit and everything else that you put together isn't always guaranteed to stay on. I mean, stuff happens all the time. But people, wrestling fans, and I'm pretty sure most of these wrestling fans were white, were losing their mind just because her wig came off. And I'm just like, I'm pretty sure there have been moments where other wrestlers or other female wrestlers have lost pieces of their hair. And the referee would just pick it up and move it out of the way, and you would not make any bones about it, wouldn't say anything about it. But because it's Jade Cargill and because she is a Black woman, you feel the need to critique it over and over and over again. And it's just so irritating. And I'm going to talk more about it later when I talk about Jade and her match with Charlotte from last night. It just gets really irritating to go online and see people hold Jade to such a high standard that they don't even hold a lot of these men to, or even these white men to. And it's just frustrating. Um, and then on the other side of the coin, in real life, I'm happy that the title of this article was Why Black Women's Hair Needs No Explanation, simply because whenever you're in any type of workplace, and I've gone through this multiple times, if you're a Black woman and you change your hair, in any way, shape, or form, you get braids put in, you put on a wig, you have natural hair, but then you just decide to just cut it all off at some point. People, especially white people who have so many questions, it's like they're like, oh my God, wasn't your hair like this? Or was your hair always that long? Was it this? Was it that? Did it take this long? How long did that take? And all of this other stuff. It just gets so exhausting. It gets really frustrating and really exhausting. Like, why do I have to explain anything I do with my body to you just because you don't understand? It's frustrating. Like, it just gets really tiresome to constantly have to explain that to people who just don't get it. And it's just like, okay, I'm not asking you why you decided to cut your hair short. I'm not asking you, why you decided to color your hair. So why are you asking me why I decided to get some crochet locks in my head? Like, can I live, please? Can us as Black women just live without a microscope? But nope, it can't, because we're always watched constantly because, they have nothing else better to do. So I'm happy that this profile was made, and I do recommend that you read it. I'm happy that Jade Cargill and so many other Black wrestlers are getting highlighted on platforms like this that are centered towards Black people, like Ebony and Essence and other publications. And yeah, these are conversations that do need to be had, but at the same time, it's my body, my choice, and I shouldn't have to explain anything I do with my body to anyone. So that's the end of that. We've reached the end of news and gossipish, and now we're going to go into what I liked in wrestling this week. And it was a lot because I had a journey. So, while me and my father were in Minneapolis, we got to go to SummerSlam, go to the SummerSlam Superstore, and it was fun. And it was raining on that Friday, but we wanted to go to the Superstore anyway, and we had a great time. I climbed inside of a truck, and I might have almost busted my hip trying to get in that truck, but either way, I climbed in a truck and it was fun. But after we went to the superstore and saw everything, and saw everyone, we went to the Mall of America. And that was an amazing time. It was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life because I love going to the mall. I always have loved going to the mall. I want to say rest in peace to Brookwood, down here in Birmingham, and rest in peace to Century Plaza. But I do still love going to the River Chase Galleria, and I still love going to the Summit. I love them all. So getting to go to the Mall of America was a dream come true for your girl and for my dad. There was so many stores in there, so many people, like it was just full to the brim with so much stuff. But something that we did not know was that there was going to be a wrestling event inside of the middle area of the Mall of America. It was by First Wrestling, which is a indie promotion in Minneapolis. And the event was called, I believe it was called Friday Nitro. And the importance that this held for me and my dad was just the fact that in that specific area of the mall where they were having a wrestling event, That was where WCW had their very first episode of Monday Night Nitro. And it's important, it holds an even greater importance because the first episode of Nitro aired on September the 4th, 1995. And that is my second birthday. So, as if it could get any more crazier as to how wrestling and I are interwoven and interconnected, the very first episode of Monday Night Nitro was held on my second birthday. I don't remember watching it. I don't remember anything I did on my second birthday, but either way, the fact that this happened and the fact that me and my dad were able to stand on that hallowed ground meant so much to me because constantly I've been on the show and talked numerous times about how I got into wrestling because my dad would record episodes of Nitro and Raw back to back on videotapes. So getting to be where the first episode was just absolutely amazing and very humbling. And on this episode, it was a 1 hour episode that had Ric Flair versus Sting, and then it also had Hogan versus Big Bubba Rogers, and it was the debut of Lex Luger in WCW as well. So if you want to go back in time and go back on streaming and find that episode somewhere, I hope you can. And watch it, you can. But just getting to be in that area of the mall, um, and also watching SmackDown when it came on as well while we were walking throughout the mall, it just meant the world to me. Like I just can't even begin. I feel like if I sit here and talk about it forever, I'm gonna talk about it forever, and I have other stuff that I have to discuss. But there were lots of great dreams that came true for me and my dad in Minneapolis, and this was one of them, and I'm so happy. Also, I kept saying to my dad, like, I wish there was a way we could scoop up the Mall of America and bring it down here to Birmingham because the way that I would be at that mall every week, whether I had money or not, would just be insane. I would be there, no one would be able to find me. I would just be ducked off, eating somewhere, doing work, all the things. Like I just can't even begin. Like I was just so happy to be there. There were so many amazing stores. Like it was just so nuts. And Patrick Nelson watching on Facebook, thank you so much for watching, saying that was iconic. You was there at the mall. Yes, I was. I was there. It was nuts. Um, it was just so wonderful. And I highly recommend going. If you're going to Minneapolis, please go to the Mall of America. It's nuts. They have Nickelodeon Universe in there, which is basically like Universal Studios inside of the mall. Like it is just so wonderful. It's so wonderful. So please go. They have all kinds of great restaurants in there, great stores in there. It was just phenomenal. And there was a lot of wrestling fans in there too. So it was just really great to run into my fellow brother and sister in Graps. It was just really great. Also, another part that has something to do with wrestling, but then doesn't necessarily have to do with wrestling, is the fact that me and my dad got to visit First Avenue and 7th Street Entry. This is an event building as well as a club, but it's most famous for being the club that Prince and the Revolution played in and where they filmed parts of Purple Rain. If you've seen that movie, I talked about it in my last episode where I was giving my SummerSlam predictions. We got to stand across the street from it, and there was also another wrestling event. I believe it was GCW going on in there when we walked up there. But we mainly stayed on the outside because we just wanted to really just breathe in the fact that we were standing in front of the club that was in Purple Rain. We could not believe it. And on the left, well, on the right, if you're watching this live, you can see me standing underneath the Prince star. Um, all along the walls of First Avenue are all stars of bands and different acts that have performed there. And of course, Prince and the Revolution are two of the most important stars for obvious reasons. And of course, after Prince passed away, they decided to repaint Prince's star gold. And I got to take a picture under it. My dad took a picture under it, and it just felt so enthralling to be there and to just touch that star and to just feel the energy of it. Like I just could not believe that we were there. Like I've spent so many weekends watching the movie, listening to the soundtrack, and just rocking out to Prince. So the idea of getting to be, right next to that was just unbelievable. And there were other stars on there too, like Ice Cube had a star. Cool and the Gang had a star. Ray Charles had a star. Like anybody who's anybody that's ever performed at First Avenue had a star on there. And it was really, really amazing to be there. And there was a Prince mural across the street from it. And on that street, they even named the street after Prince. It's called Prince Rogers Nelson Way. And then he also has a highway on the way to Paisley Park too with a purple sign. So everything Prince related, just about everything Prince related, we just got to do within the span of that weekend. And it was just an honor to be there amongst all of the Prince stuff. It was just so, so great. I almost cried. If not, I really did cry being at the club because it was just so important. It's just so culturally relevant to us. So it just meant everything. Now we move into everything that I love from SummerSlam Night One. I have to give Liv Morgan her tens for being absolutely petty. Because on the right, if you're watching this live, she had on a t-shirt that had a picture of Rhea Ripley crying after she retained the Women's World Championship at SummerSlam in Cleveland and after she stole Dominic from her. And I just thought that was just so petty. I was just like, girl, you're just ooh. But if Rhea Ripley wasn't injured and she came back and ruined your opportunity to win that title back, she would have been wrong. But whatever. This match between Liv and Io Sky was fantastic. Um, I want to give Janelle from HR from the Jobber Tears podcast her tens for giving me for giving me or telling me some very important stuff. She told me at one time that when it comes to booking a wrestling show, the opening is just as important as the closing and the main event. And I feel like Liv Morgan and Io Sky was definitely a representation of how important it is how important the opening is. Because the way these women were bringing the action was absolutely nuts. And I almost literally hate that Roxanne and Raquel came out to interfere on behalf of Liv because the match was already good on its own. But you can tell that after Io was able to knock them down, that Liv sort of locked into another level of herself and another level of competition and intensity in the match. And it was just really, really good. I loved it. And though a lot of people feel that Io losing was not the best choice, I can see why it was the best choice, considering in the um during the press run that everybody was on for SummerSlam on ESPN, they actually made it public underneath Liv Morgan during an interview that said that she had not defended the title in over 100 days. And even though Liv tried to play into it, that didn't look good. No one in the wrestling fandom really liked the fact that Liv had not had that many challengers or any challengers at all for that world title in over 100 days. So the idea that she defended the title successfully, and did it quasi on her own was the right move because you just don't want her looking all flimsy like that at a big event, such as SummerSlam. So I completely get why she retained, but the action was fantastic. The match was fantastic. Um, it held all of the intensity of what women's wrestling is all about. Kudos to Io Sky. And I hope that there's something more that they can do with Io Sky when she isn't going after the world title and when Rhea Ripley is not there. Because before she won the Queen of the Ring tournament, there really wasn't a lot that she was doing after she had her feud with Asuka. So I'm hoping that afterward, we'll see more of Io Sky um, in another form or in another picture in another major feud because she is so talented and she's so important. So this was a really fantastic match and it just took my breath away. It was just really, really good. Another match that I feel like wasn't fully respected in the crowd, which irritated me, was Team Bella Scream with the Bella twins and Paige versus Fatal Influence. There were parts of the match where people in the crowd were doing the wave, and that upset me because I'm just like, there's a match going on, and I don't care whether you respect the Bellas and Paige or not. You really have to like respect what they're doing in the ring. Like it just frustrates me to no end that there is this notion that when the Bellas are in the ring, you're just not supposed to pay attention, or you're just not supposed to give them reference or respect just because they were divas at one point. Like that really frustrated me, and I really on purpose did not do the wave in the crowd just because I wanted to pay attention to what was happening in the ring. But for what it's worth, they did have a pretty good match. Fatal Influence continued to show why they are a dominant three-woman group, and why, of course, they are the women's tag team champions. And it bummed me out that Brie Bella got hurt, and I hope that she does get better soon. Um, but Fatal Influence won, and that was really good. But what gagged me was the fact that the Bellas definitely turned on Paige just the way that I knew and just felt like something was amiss. Just like a couple of weeks ago when I peeped that Brie Bella was distracting the referee away from what Paige was doing with Fatal Influence, I just had this feeling that her and Nikki were going to start bullying Paige when Nikki came back, and that's exactly what happened. I knew it. Like I just felt it in my bones. I knew something was amiss. But I'm wondering now because Bree is hurt, I guess now Nikki is going to carry the thing. But a part of me is wondering, if there would have been sort of like a tag match involving someone assisting Paige in the form of AJ Lee, or just someone else. I don't know. But either way, this match deserved a little bit more respect than what it got in the crowd, but I was giving it its respect. And I would here again, I'm always happy to see Lainey Reed getting it cracking in the ring, as a fellow woman from Alabama. And yeah, this match deserved way more respect than it got in the crowd. I'm going to need for you guys to do better when it comes to women's wrestling. Respect it better, respect it more, because doing the wave during this match was just absolutely unacceptable for me. And if it wasn't for the like, and I low key feel like if it wasn't for the fact that I was sitting there with my dad, I probably would have yelled at them and said, "Look, y'all really need to stop." And I've done something like that before. I did that in Philadelphia. I did that in Philadelphia because there was a guy who literally called a women's match at NXT Stand and Deliver that year a bathroom break. And I got so pissed and told him that you need to back off, and was yelling over, women's wrestling being respected after they announced a championship. So I cannot stand it when men disrespect women's wrestling. That's a good way to get you cut off in my life. So yeah, hated it. Respect the Bellas and respect Paige, please. Now moving towards the men, Nick Aldis, Nick Aldis, baby. Nick Aldis did what he came there to do, and he tore up Gunter. He tore up Gunter so bad, and I was so happy and screaming the entire time because I was just like, "Yes, beat him up, beat him up!" And then every time Gunter kept getting the upper hand on Nick, I was just like, "No, I did not come all the way to Minneapolis to watch you beat up on him. Like Nick, get up, Nick, get up!" I was so intense, and I was so into this match. Nick Aldis did such a good job. And I hated seeing him tap out to Gunther. I was just like, "Oh no, please, no." And then he tapped out, and I was like, "No." I was in despair. But Nick Aldis did such a good job. I was just like, man, just let him wrestle. Don't even make him GM. Just let him wrestle. Just let him continue to wrestle forever. And let him and Gunther have like a series, like a best of seven series to see who's the better European wrestler. I don't know. I just feel like it just gave me everything I needed, and I just really want more. Like the idea that now Nick Aldis is just going back to his GM role and, being at least civil to Gunther, I was just like, nah, man. Nah, I want them to fight some more. There needs to be more. Gunther needs more beatings. He needs more beatings. And Nick Aldis definitely gave him that, even though Gunther won. Lame. But whatever. Nick did really great. Even though he tapped out and I was bummed out about it. And then another great part of this whole thing was the fact that Nick Aldis's family, his wife, Mickey James, another legend in her own right, and their son Donovan came to celebrate with him and everything, and it was just so sweet. And also, something funny that happened on social media was the fact that a lot of women were noticing how handsome Nick Aldis was, and Mickey James even saw it too and played into it. And I was just like, girl, Mickey, they're trying to come after your husband. But she laughed it off and said, look, now you see what I'm working with. And I was like, yes, girl, be proud of your man. I love it. So big ups to Nick Aldis. I did see a report online saying that everything was generally positive and that he could get back in the ring at some point. I hope it's soon because I really enjoyed this match live. It was such a great experience. And yeah, I still want to see him versus Cody now because I just feel like that would just be an insane matchup. But Nick Aldis, you did the thing. And then also for the men, I loved seeing Solo Sokoa clown around. Um, the funniest thing, oh my, I'm losing my headphones. The funniest thing that Solo did was him actually running back the yeet. I was laughing so hard and just screaming because I just could not believe he had the audacity to do that in front of Jay. This whole scenario in this six-man tag is essentially what happens when the little brother or the little sister gets some, they grow up and then they proceed to just burst their older siblings' bubble. I know because my sister does it to me and I do it to her all the time. So the idea of seeing Solo just hijack the yeet and say, hey, y'all want to run it back? And we were in there yeeting like it was his the whole time. It was so funny. Oh my God. Solo. I want Solo to be a good guy. Like, I really do. Like, I just want him to be a baby face because he actually seems just as much as a clown as the other two Usos are. And I just want him to be happy because seeing him be a thug, I mean, it was cool and everything, seeing him be all like, yeah, look at me in my MFTs or whatever with his suits and stuff on. But no, let's get to Happy Solo. Like, I love Happy Solo. Like, let's do this. And his team wound up winning the match. Royce Keys did fantastic in the match as well, along with LA Knight. And then Solo actually gave LA Knight a hug. And I was like, oh, my dad didn't trust it. He was just like, I don't trust him. I don't trust him. I don't trust him. But I was just like, no, I just like the hug because I mean, let's hug each other. I loved it. It was nice. Especially given LA Knight and all the anger and animosity he's had towards the bloodline. This was really nice to see and experience. So it was good. I really enjoyed the six-man tag. Um, and I also enjoyed the entrance of the Usos and Jacob Fatu. They have really good chemistry in the six-man tag as well, but I just definitely wanted to just hold some space for their entrance because they look like some monsters that you just don't want to meet in an alley at all. Like they look like they was just like, yeah, like if you come over here, we're gonna bust you up. Like it was just crazy. The energy that they gave was just like so thuggish, ruggish bone. And I just loved it. Their energy is just always on point. Or I think the word they have for it is mana. I hope I'm using that in the right context. If I'm not, I deeply apologize. I mean no disrespect. But yeah, this was really good and it was well produced and I love this match and their entrances. It was just really cool. Also, with this entrance and with Seth's entrance, the fire the fire and the heat from it can still reach and grab you. We were not sitting like super close to the stage, but we were sort of like in the stadium is not particularly like round, but at the same time like we weren't that far from the stage, but we weren't like super close either. But the way that we were still able to feel the heat from the pyro was just nuts. I was just like, whoa, This is hot. But yeah, the things you go through at a wrestling show is just hilarious. And now we get to Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk. There is a lot to get into with this match. I love this match so much. It was so good, but I definitely enjoyed this entrance because um SummerSlam and usually larger events like this is where the sponsorships and all of the movies and different projects that other wrestlers are doing are usually highlighted. And because Cody Rhodes is in Street Fighter, the new movie that's coming out in October, that's based off the video game, he made his entire entrance based off of the old Street Fighter game. And this made me so happy because me and my ex boyfriend used to play Street Fighter together. And that was really the first time I had ever played it and ever got to know these characters like Guile, like Akuma, like, oh my God, so many others. Even Cody had a character at some point, but that was before he was with WWE, and they were very similar to each other, even though there really was no correlation per se. They were very similar to each other. Cammy, so many other characters. I loved playing with Cammy. That was my girl. Um, it was just really cool to see them incorporate the classic Street Fighter stuff into this match. And then you have CM Punk on the other side with the belt. And then with Cody, you can choose what character you wanted to play with him. And it was just regular Cody. But then he pops up with the Street Fighter um Titantron, and it's just in all orange and yellow like the movie. And then he pops up with the Guile helmet, and I was just like, oh, that's so cool. I thought that was just really, really cool because a part of me was like, bruh, is he gonna come out here with his hair like Guile, like a piece or something? But no, it was just a helmet, and he fought with his regular hair that we are used to seeing him with. And it was awesome. I really enjoyed that entrance. It was really fire. And I guess at some point I'm gonna have to invest in my own PS5. I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna work. Um, but yeah, I miss playing video games. But we move on. CM Punk came out dressed in Minnesota North Stars colors, and that is a hockey team that's in Minnesota. And someone on Twitter said, isn't that sacrilege because he's a Chicago Blackhawks fan? Well, maybe he was just doing that simply because it's hockey. Now, I do not pretend to know the politics of wearing hockey things for the NHL, so don't let me get off into that because I don't know. But I did think this gear was really cute. Um, he could have leaned into the purple motif if he wanted to, but he decided not to and go this way and go this route. So I thought that was really cool. Green and yellow is always a really great coloring, unless it has something to do with Jackson Olin, because I hate y'all. I mean, no shade to Jackson Olin, but specifically because I was raised in an Inslee High School home. Yeah, yeah, it's FJO. But that's Alabama. But anyway, this was really cute. I liked his gear. And this match was very intense. It was really good. It was a lot longer than what I expected it to be, but it was really good. I enjoyed the match. CM Punk tried to kill himself a number of times by um hitting moonsaults that a lot of people feel like he should stop trying to hit. I don't mind his moonsaults. Everything doesn't have to be perfect all the time. And I think at one point he even blasted himself through the table and Cody decided to move out of the way. I feel like Cody Rhodes and CM Punk are low-key tied for the craziest men in all of professional wrestling because the things that they do to each other and to do to themselves for the love of the game is just absolutely nuts. Like it's really nuts. But we're not here to just discuss a match. We are here to discuss the fact that Randy Orton, Randall Keith, the Legend Killer, came back and ruined Cody Rhodes' opportunity at the WWE Championship by RKOing him while CM Punk was outside of the ring. And then he winked. And then after he winked, he rolled away. And then CM Punk wound up taking advantage and went and retaining the WWE Championship. And what's so funny about this is as I'm watching the match, Like I'm looking just straight ahead, right? But then my dad like touches me. He's like, Stephanie, look, somebody's coming, somebody's coming. And so I look and I see somebody running. And then when I look and see it's Randy, I'm like, oh, it's Randy. Oh my God, where you been at? Because we hadn't seen him since WrestleMania. Because he lost at WrestleMania. So he pops up, ruins the chance for Cody, and then leaves. And we gonna get into what they had to say to each other on Friday in a minute. But that was really crazy to experience. He rolled right back out of there, and that was the end of night one. And night one to me was fantastic. I loved night one. I loved being there. It was fantastic. It was fun. It was energetic. It was just really, really great. So, and this was definitely a part of it. This was definitely a moment that I'm glad I got to experience live. We were like, yo, it was crazy. So, yeah, it was amazing. Oh wait, I just said that like that was the main event. I am so sorry. I think my brain wanted to make CM Punk and Cody the main event of night one just now because it was for a title. But I forgot. I low key completely forgot. Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar in Hell in a Cell main event at night one. I'm sorry, y'all. But yeah, they main event at night one, and this match, it was okay in turn as far as Hell in a Cell matches go. But I thought for sure it probably would have been a little bit more brutal. Um, because you have these two big behemoths in the ring and you have all these tables, you have these chairs they kept throwing in there, you have tools and everything. Like, I just really low key feel like they could have gotten surgical up in there, but they didn't. And I feel like the scariest thing that happened in that match was Brock ripping the mat to expose the wood. That was the scariest part of that whole match. It was crazy for me because I was just like, what are you planning on doing to my Oba? Are you trying to kill him? What is going on? And then when he hit the tombstone pile driver onto the wood and did like the rest in peace thing like the Undertaker used to do, I was just like, are you serious? And then when Oba jumped out, I was just like, yes, because Brock, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Like, I was hollering. I was just like, who do you think you are, Brock? This is not that. This is not that. I'm sorry. You are not the Undertaker. You can't do this. Goodbye. And that's really what let me know that Oba was definitely gonna win because you just don't kick out of the tombstone pile driver. You just don't. Everybody just doesn't do that. So the fact that he did, I was just like, yes, yes, we're still in this thing. And then, of course, Oba hits the fall from grace, and I thought he would have hit it on the wood, but he didn't. Um, he hits the fall from grace and he wins. And I'm happy that Oba won. I'm glad that the feud, ended the way that it did. But I was expecting him to just get a little bit more surgical with the brutality. But then again, every Hell in a Cell match can't be like CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre at Bad Blood. So it's okay. It's okay. And then afterward, what happened afterward, I was definitely not expecting. We were celebrating Ova winning. Um, and of course, there were a lot of people rooting for Brock because he was from Minnesota. Um, but when Ova won, I was absolutely thrilled for him. But then when it looked like everything was wrapping up, Brock gets back up. He takes his gloves off like he did at Mania and gets a microphone and says, "Look, I'm the past, he's the future. I'm the past, he's the future." And that was it. And Oba looked like he was very humbled to hear him say that. He looked like he was on the verge of tears a couple times. It was just a really good moment. And of course, Triple H afterward was asked that, if this really was like the end of the road for Brock. But the answer that he gave in the press conference sort of alluded to the idea that Brock was going to speak to it himself, which he wound up doing on the Pat McAfee show. He said that he is now truly officially retired. So Brock um wrapped up his career in his home state in front of his family and basically gave props to Obafemi, who is essentially the future of the wrestling business. And of course, on a lot of these episodes that we've seen after SummerSlam, they re-showed re-showed and repackaged the whole thank you Brock thing that they were doing for WrestleMania when everybody thought he really was retired and then he wasn't and everything. So that was cool. But the entire time, this is just what I thought.
Bye. See you later, y'all ain't got no money. Bye bye. Thousand, boo. Thank you. And still bought another car after that. Thank you. Bye bye, Boo Boo the Kitty. Back to the D you go. She was all on Facebook talking about I'm about to get this money. No, you're not.
That's how I felt. Bye bye, Boo Boo the Kitty. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The next big thing is Obafemi. Let's move on. That's how I felt. So yeah. It's like a lot of the warm, fuzzy feelings they're trying to give for Lesnar retiring, I don't feel it. I'm sorry. Like all of my warm and fuzzy feelings for retirements were all spent on John Cena and AJ Styles. Not even really Goldberg, but definitely AJ Styles and John Cena. But not for these two, not for Goldberg and not for Lesnar. I'm sorry. It just wasn't there. So yeah, we can move on. Obafemi is now the true next big thing. Now, as we move into night two, I have a funny story to share about night two. My father and I were not present for a lot of night two because we went to Paisley Park, which is the Prince Museum, which is also where he recorded a lot of his music and stayed. So we had to hurry up and get a ticket for Sunday because a lot of the tickets for that weekend to go to Paisley Park were all sold out. And the next available date was Sunday, so we had to go do our 90-minute tour on Sunday. And that made us miss a good portion of SummerSlam Sunday. And I'm not mad about it because sometimes in life, you do have to go touch grass as a wrestling fan. And then you also have to do other things that interest you. And it's abundantly clear in the past couple of episodes, you've heard how I feel about Prince and how my dad feels about Prince. That was a part that we really needed to fulfill for our inner self. So, as much as I am kind of not really upset, I'm a little bummed that we missed a lot of night two of SummerSlam. I'm not as bummed because there's the part that I got to fulfill in going to Paisley Park and then still being there for parts of night two. So I do still want to discuss the things that I did love about night two after it was all over with. Charlotte Charlotte Flair hanging off of the thing that was holding the title was pretty nuts for me. I was just like, girl, are you okay? Like, what the heck is going on? But I loved seeing this because you don't really get to see a lot of the women hanging in ladder matches like this. So I thought this was really cool. And I thought this was I loved her gear because of course she continues to pay tribute to Scarlett, her big fan that she bonded with that did sadly pass. Her gear was really gorgeous. And, it was just, I loved her presence there. And of course, her and Jade kept fighting with each other throughout the match, which ultimately kept them from getting that interim women's championship, which I guess isn't so interim now anymore. But I thought this part was really, really funny and really cool. Um, yeah, this was hilarious. But I feel like all of the praise and happiness should definitely go to Chelsea Green, who became the new WWE Women's Champion. And they announced her as such on last night. They didn't call her the interim, they called her the WWE Women's Champion. And this meant a lot to me for a lot of reasons because Miss Ma'am has been in wrestling for such a long time. And she has been working so hard to be something in the wrestling business. And I will never forget the first time I saw her was on that episode of Raw when she was playing the I guess the physical therapy nurse for Bryan Danielson in the beef that Brie Bella had going on with Stephanie McMahon. When Stephanie McMahon was basically a part of the authority and was making Brie and Bryan Danielson's life a living hell. And that was the first time I saw her. And I did not think that she was a wrestler then. I did not know her then, but she became a part of that iconography of the whole yes movement and the yes story. All to fast forward and see that this woman has been wrestling for a number of years. And then I see her again on NXT as a part of the Robert Stone brand. And I'm just like, who is this girl? Like, she's just so interesting to me. Chelsea Green is one of those people who just makes you look and enthralls you no matter what she does, whether it's in ring or outside the ring. She just has this crazy personality that just never stops being interesting. And when she was on NXT as part of the Robert Stone brand, like I wanted her to go up to the main roster and just start kicking all kinds of butt. I wanted her to be NXT Women's Champion. Like I wanted everything for her immediately, but then it didn't happen that way because she endured a lot of injuries. She was let go from WWE a couple of times and stuff, but she kept working. She kept that work ethic going. Like she fought all around the indies and Lucha Underground and NWA and TNA, all these places. She just kept going and going. And then I'll also just never forget the moment of seeing her win the NWA Women's Invitational Cup at NWA Empower in 2021. She did that and she beat Tootie Lynn, who is a St. Louis favorite in that indie scene and also a WoW superhero now. Like I've talked ad nauseum about how NWA Empower 2021 is my canon event for wrestling media and just all the things I experienced from that. And this was one of those things that I'm so happy I got to see. She won that Invitational Cup. And it was just so seeing her work ethic over the years has just been nothing short of spectacular. So to see her finally get to WWE, stay for the period that she has, become the first ever women's United States champion, and also a triple A mixed tag team champion with Ethan Page. And then on top of that, now being the WWE women's champion after years of people telling her that she could never be at the top of the card and that she was made to make the Rias and make the Tiffany's, you, Michael P.S. Hayes, yes, you. Um, I just can't even believe this. And it was just a breath of fresh air, and it made me so happy that someone as crazy and as talented as she is won this title. I was so thrilled. I was so happy. And she's someone I've also interviewed before, and she was just so sweet and so understanding of my technology issues at Royal Rumble last year. So seeing this happen to her and then getting to do this in front of her husband, her mom, and her sisters and all the above was just so lovely. So shout out to Chelsea Green. You deserve the world. You deserve everything. And I'm so happy that at SummerSlam I got her hat. I bought her hat because I've always wanted one of these hats. I can't wear it because my hair is just way too long at the top. I can't wear any hat because my hair is just huge. But I'm just so happy that I actually have a Chelsea hat because those hats are absolutely amazing and kooky and funny. And I just really wanted one. So, yeah, I can't wear it. Don't ask me to put it on. I can't put it on, but it's gonna be up here in my room forever. So, yeah, Chelsea Green, a champion is you. You won. But I do have to hold space for Jade Cargill and her Prince tribute outfit. On Instagram, she said that she was inspired by Prince, the fact that they were going to be in Minneapolis, and her husband also inspired her to do this Prince gear. And when I say this is probably one of the best gears that she has ever done and ever worn, it was just so beautiful. It was purple rain. Like, how can you be the storm in Minneapolis and not bring the purple rain? That's what she did. I thought for sure that maybe Trick Williams would have done it, but he didn't, and Jade did, and I'm so happy that Jade did. Not saying that Trick wouldn't have done a good job because I'm sure he would have, but the fact that Jade did it along with her baddies too, oh my God. They looked so good. She looked so good. Like I was so gagged. I was like, girl, I wanted to pass out. Like, ma'am, excuse me. Excuse me. Category 5, get you an umbrella because the storm is here and the rain is purple and we're going to dance under it. And it was just so amazing. Oh, I'm not over it. I'm just not over it. And I don't think I ever will be over it. It was just so beautiful. So, so gorgeous. And then the back of the jacket had the Prince symbol on it, but then it at the bottom, instead of just like the straight down arrow, it went into a thunderbolt. I, the intricate details. The details are important. And this jacket was everything. It was everything. It ate so bad, I just couldn't deal with it. And the fact that she did this, and I saw this after I got back from Paisley Park, where all they had were those Prince symbols all around Prince's house. I just, I couldn't deal. I could not deal. They ate. Jade ate. She ate and left no crumbs. The table is clear. The waitress doesn't need to come. She did it. She gets her tens. Also, I love this moment that Jade had with Lash Legend. This was amazing. You have the battle of the black baddies up in here. Oh my God, these powerhouse women. I just can't. Mm, mm. It just blesses my soul. It blesses my soul. Lash is rising, babe. And here again, this is the full look for the baddies. This is courtesy of Mia Yim. She said game blouses, which was, of course, a reference to the Chappelle show and the skit where he played Prince playing basketball in that story time that Charlie Murphy gave. So this was absolutely fantastic. They ate all the way down. I have no notes. I have no notes. All three of these women are perfect. They're all perfect, and all of these black women paying tribute to Prince this way just gave me life. Like it gave me life when they paid tribute to Michael Jackson, but this just gave me a different level of life that just blessed my soul, and I will never let it go. I will never get over it. I just won't. Now, as we move into the men during night two, I was not expecting the Finn and Sammy match to turn into a number one contenders fatal four way. But Nick Aldis decided that since he lost, I guess he was just going to shake everything up. And he shook the table by not only adding Gunther, his worst enemy, to the match, he also added a returning Kevin Owens. We had not seen him in literal months, almost over a year since his injury. And it's so crazy when some people actually showed the injury and when it possibly happened. And when they said it possibly happened at the Royal Rumble last year, they gagged me because him and Cody really straight tried to kill each other in that championship match because it was a ladder match. It was nuts. And I think it was where Cody gave him an Alabama slam into the ladder and he landed weird and it was just crazy. So we hadn't seen Kevin Owens since then. So now he's back. Everything's okay. And Sammy was looking shook the whole time as he was making his entrance. And then they hugged each other afterward. But then after they hugged each other, they proceeded to fight again because Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, if it's one thing these two know, it's like they love each other and they hate each other. But when it comes to championship opportunities, they're going to run over each other to get to the top and then make up for it later. And you can just, and that's just like, that's just certain. Death, taxes, and Kevin and Sammy fighting and loving each other at the same time. It's the fight that never ends. But this was really crazy. It was really nuts. And I'm happy that Kevin Owens at least won. But I felt sorry for Finn Balor because I felt like the match between Sammy and Finn Balor really was going to give us black and gold NXT tees. Um, but that's not to say that it still didn't with Kevin Owens there. But I was looking forward to that 1-on-1. But either way, Kevin Owens won, and now he's the number one contender for the undisputed WWE Championship. And we gonna get more into that a little bit later because last night him and CM Punk got into it, baby, and it was nuts. So shout out to Kevin. I'm so happy to see him back in the ring. I missed him. And during his entrance, they showed and panned out to the crowd, and there were a lot of people crying, and it was just so sweet. I was just like, oh my God. Everyone's so happy, and there's really like, there are people who really F with Kevin Owens a long way. So it was really nice to see people, have that positive of reaction to him. It was so sweet. And another sweet thing that happened during night two was Chad Gable winning, finally winning the Intercontinental Championship. Just like I predicted on my show, I said that I felt like Chad Gable is the only person from Minnesota who should win at SummerSlam. And doggone it, it happened. He finally beat Penta for the title that he had been chasing for over a year or two. And he cried, and it was just very emotional. He won in front of his family, his wife, his parents, I believe, and his children. It was just so beautiful. Um, it was just so lovely to see him get this moment and cry and finally like reach the top of the mountain where he always felt like he could have been as a singles performer. It was just so wonderful. And even on Raw, he talked about how a lot of people stayed with him in his journey from the time he was with American Alpha with Jason Jordan, which I do have to discuss because I loved American Alpha so much during in the NXT days. When I tell you NXT's tag team division for the men were not playing games back in the day, they were not playing games. And Chad Gable and Jason Jordan were a part of that, and they excited me so much every time them and the Revival, who are on AEW now, would fight each other. It was just tens across the board every single time. The tag division was not playing in NXT back in the day. They weren't. And then, of course, American Alpha gets called up, and sadly, Jason Jordan sustains an injury that knocks him out of wrestling completely, I believe. And then he becomes a producer backstage. And that's great and everything, but to see them backstage having this hug just really did something for me and my NXT loving soul. Because these two, I just knew they were going to take over the tag division on SmackDown when they got called up from NXT. I just knew it. I just felt it in my bones, right? I just loved them down. I loved American Alpha so much. But here we are in the today of things, and Chad Gable is now the Intercontinental Champion. And then he also talked about how everybody was with him during his Shorty G days, which was way at the beginning of the Hardy Wrestling podcast when he was made to look like a joke and not an Olympic athlete, and everybody was so upset about it. Oh my God, it was so bad. But here we are, and he's a champion, and it's just so amazing, and I'm so happy for him. And I'm so happy that his family got to experience that, and it was just really great. So we love the crying, we love dreams coming true on the Hardy Wrestling podcast. So I'm just so happy for Chad. This was amazing, and I was happy that Penta, gave him his tens as well. It was just a very beautiful end to a crazy story of him losing himself and then finding himself again as a wrestler. Chad did it, and it was great. So, yeah, we love it. Long live American Alpha. And speaking of things living long, Seth and Roman. Lord have mercy. This match and the emotional beats that it had was just so insane. Like, I feel like if I were probably watching this match by myself, I probably would have cried. Um, these two not only beat each other up in the worst way possible, the emotional beats that they allowed to breathe in this match was really great, especially when Seth Rollins got hit and he did like the under the rope thing and pulled himself back in the way that Dean Ambrose slash John Moxley used to do. And then when it looked like Rollins was about to hit Roman with it, Roman reversed it and hit Dirty Deeds onto Seth Rollins. And that is the finisher that Dean Ambrose slash John Moxley used to do. And this was not only just a championship match, it was moments like that that really let you know that it was like a tribute to how they both started with each other in the Shield. And then also a tribute to how the Shield ended, because there was a moment where Roman Reigns could have grabbed a chair and hit Seth in the back like he did at WrestleMania 40. And then he lost everything because he got triggered from that betrayal. But then he decided not to and throw the chair back out. And he said, no, F that shit. And like I read his lips because I just so happened to look up at the screen and he was just like, nah, fuck that shit. And then he got rid of it. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, it was just very emotional. And it was just a really great match. So if you have not watched this match back, I highly recommend that you do. And of course, Roman Reigns retained the World Heavyweight Championship. But then afterward, him and Seth just kind of looked at each other in the corner and just stared. And then they stood up, and then Seth put the shield mask in the middle to represent John Moxley, I guess. And then they did the shield fist bump, and it was just so beautiful. So night two was nuts, for what I did see. And it was crazy. But yeah, all in all, SummerSlam was very enjoyable and it was definitely worth the trip. I mean, mind you, every WWE event that's out of town is worth the trip, but this was definitely worth the trip. I had so much fun. My dad had a lot of fun. Um, it was kind of overwhelming for him because he hadn't really been to a big pay-per-view like this since WrestleMania 27 in 2011. Um, so everything was sort of like new for him, but it was not new, but then new for him at the same time. And it was just nice to have that bonding time after everything we have been going through over the past couple of months. So nothing brings you back to life like a good wrestling trip. So this was great. SummerSlam was fantastic. I enjoyed every piece of it. Um and now it seems like everything that happened from SummerSlam, of course, spilled over into the next week and in this week. And it felt like there was a new energy going into the summer slash fall of things. So long live the Shield and much respect and love to John Moxley. Now, as we go into Raw for the women, Sol Ruka versus Roxanne Perez was a fantastic match. It was definitely giving NXT tease, and I really loved it. It was really good, but I hated, of course, you had the interference of Liv and Raquel on the part for Roxanne. And then before Liv cut a promo basically celebrating, her coming out with the victory at SummerSlam and her calling Roxanne, of course, her little prodigy. And it just seems like she just keeps doing that as a form of just trying to make it seem like, oh, well, you need to know your place as my little girl. And that's just irritating for me because at what point are we going to see Roxanne really like branch out and do her thing? But I guess it's kind of hard to do that when Liv has the women's world title and then Raquel has the IC title. And there's nothing for Roxanne. It's interesting. Um, but I guess maybe we'll get the answer to that later. But this match was really good, very athletic, but here again, it was ruined by the Judgment Day. And Just as the match ended in a DQ, with Sol Ruka getting the win and them jumping all over her and everything, and Liv was like, holding up her title and look at us, we're ruling the world. She gets interrupted by the man who came around Iowa. The man, Becky Lynch, is back. And it looks like she has a change in attitude. Becky is not being the crazy heel that we once saw her as before. She is now a face and she's coming after Liv. And it's so funny because at first I said to myself, wait, is she wanting to fight Raquel? But then she looked at Raquel and was like, look, your title's safe. I've done everything I can do with that title. It's fine. But I'm here to fight Liv because basically she told her that she's had the worst title reign of all time. And she said that a women's world champion should be fighting and not flirting. And you need someone to defend that title against, and it's going to be me. But of course, Liv, running her mouth, basically disrespected Becky and said, look, shouldn't you be somewhere being a mother now? um Go be a mother and leave me alone. You'll never get your hands on this title. But then Becky Lynch proceeds to go scorched earth on Liv and told her that you're not even the greatest women's world champion in your own group. And that was so crazy because when you think about Roxanne and everything she's done and Raquel and everything she's done, that's pretty crazy. And then she drives the knife even further and says, you're not even the greatest women's world champion that ever slept with Dominic Mysterio. And that gagged everybody. It gagged me. I was like, oh. And it's hilarious because if we're making comparisons here, Rhea is always going to be Rhea. And you'll always be the girl that came after Rhea. So I mean, yeah, that was cold. But just when it couldn't get any worse for Liv, it did, because Stephanie Vaquer, my La Primera, my name twin, my goddess love from Chile, made her return after us not seeing her since WrestleMania and cleared out the entire female half of the Judgment Day and beats up on Liv, catches her, beats her up in the ring, and runs her away. And then she has a standoff with Becky Lynch, which set my soul on fire because I'm just like, oh my God, this is what women's wrestling is made of. Like that song from the Lizzie McGuire movie. This is what dreams are made of. This is what this is for me. This is amazing. So it's looking like Stephanie and Becky are going to fight, could very well possibly fight each other to see who's going to be number one contender. And by all accounts, it should be Stephanie because she lost in WrestleMania. But then you have Becky, who's Big Becky, and it's just like, oh my God, these big boss women are going to duke it out. And I am so excited for it. I'm so pumped. I am so pumped to see these two amazing women fight each other. I'm excited about it. This excited me on every level of the imagination. And Liv is just going to have to watch out. She really is. Because, I mean, she beat Io, and I can't imagine what else Io would have to do outside of going after the IC title. Um, yeah, Miss Ma'am, you've got a target on your back. And you're going to have to work some more. I'm excited. And I also wanted to hold space for Maxine Dupree's outfit because it was denim, and I just could not believe how it was constructed on her body. Like it looked amazing. It just looked like a piece of art that was just hanging off of her, and I'm just like, bruh, how does that outfit work? Like it just looked like a piece of art, and she looked amazing in it, and I just wanted to hold space for that. So yeah, she's being a great valet villain with the vision and stuff. But I just wanted to talk about this outfit because I just couldn't believe how it was just on her body. It just looked like it looked like she was poured into it. It was just perfect for her. So yeah. That's all I wanted to say about that. Now, my headphones keep popping out. When it comes to the men on Raw, LA Knight and Roman Reigns got into it. Of course, Roman Reigns was the first to come out, and he was sort of basking in the glow of having defeated Seth in Iowa, which is crazy because you would think that maybe Seth would have popped up because they were in Iowa, but he didn't throughout this whole night, and that really surprised me. But as he was celebrating, LA Knight comes out and basically states his case as to why he's up next to challenge for that championship. But Roman Reigns, because he's the big dog, he's like, look, I'm not in the mood to give out charity championship opportunities. If you want a shot at the title, you're gonna have to earn it. And that upset me a little bit because I'm just like, I'm sorry, how you gonna say LA Knight has to earn it when all Seth had to do was walk up to you and challenge you, and you are willing to give him a shot? That was interesting for me, but whatever. LA Knight, I'm pretty sure, isn't gonna let it go. And then later on in the night, the Usos and Jacob were asking Roman, like, do you want us to stomp him out or jump him or whatever? And he was just like, no, like, leave him alone. And LA Knight proceeded to mess with them about it and everything. So this isn't over between LA and Roman Reigns. And I would love it if LA Knight were to become the next champion after Roman, but I just don't trust it. I just don't trust the idea that Roman is just gonna like just drop the title like that. He's just not, because he's Roman Reigns. And it's pretty safe to assume that whenever Roman Reigns holds a heavyweight title in this way, he's going to have it for a long time. So I don't know, but I love it. I would love it if LA Knight finally won, because I feel like we've been chomping at the bit for him to be a world champion for a long time, only for it to not happen. And I'm tired of it not happening. So give LA Knight his things, please. Thank you. And then we had the return of Big Cass, who didn't just make his return and just say hi. He attacked Javon Evans after his victory against Ethan Page, and it made me sad because I'm just like, so Javon Evans gets this momentum, beats his old rival from NXT, only to get attacked by this 7 foot tall dude who he's never had an interaction with before. Like, what is this? What is this proving? Like, it's like we're seeing all these call ups get their chances, like Obafemi and like Trick Williams. But I want Javon to finally win a thing. I feel like if there's anybody who should be next in line to like challenge Chad Gable, it should be Javon Evans, because he's just so talented. And it just makes no sense for him to be used constantly as a punching bag against these bigger dudes. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. He's more than that. Let him be more than that. Like, I don't know, maybe it's the size thing, but it's really frustrated me how they're making Javon look. It's like 1 minute you make him look dominant, and the next minute you just relegate him to be a punching bag. And it just frustrates me to no end. And then Big Cass proceeds to cut a promo backstage and say, look, I'm going to attack everybody. And there is nothing personal against Javon. He was just the first person on my list. And I was just like, bruh, really? Okay. Yeah. But moving on, I do want to give praise to Obafemi for coming out here in his white agbada, which is West African wear, and he looked like a god. He looked like an angel that was rising from the heavens. Like, him and his Agbada was kicking all kinds of butt. He just looked so amazing in it. Like, when he first came out in it, I was just like, what is this? But then I looked it up, and it's West African traditional wear, and it's so beautiful, and it made him look regal and royal, as if he was stepping into the fullness of who he is as the ruler. And it was just so amazing. I am obsessed with African clothes. I am absolutely obsessed with African wear. I love it so much, and I need some more. And this was just no exception. I love that he has pride in his Nigerian roots. and he has no problem showing it because he looked like a god here. He really did. And so he cuts this promo on Raw, thanking Brock Lesnar and everything. But then he also says that he wants to be the leader of the new age that will, take over the old guard and essentially lead them into the future, which is great and everything. But a part of me is really just chomping at the bit for him to challenge Roman Reigns too. I want him to challenge for a larger title because it just seems like whenever he is around and there's a championship, he should just challenge for it. He should just have it. But they're just keeping him away from it for now. And I'm just like, bro, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Um, Patrick Nelson on YouTube, thank you for watching, is saying, what if Obafemi aligns himself with Paul Heyman? It looks like they were hinting. I actually don't want him to align with Paul Heyman because he is articulate enough on his own. I don't think that Obafemi as the ruler needs an advocate. I just don't. I mean, I could see where you're going with it in terms of him being the next big thing after Brock and everything. And Paul Heyman hanging around with the vision or whatever. I mean, that would be cool and all, but I just don't think that Obafemi needs an advocate. I don't. I feel like he's fine on his own. But that is a good idea to bring up. But I in my opinion, I just don't feel like he needs an advocate. He's fine. Um but he wants to lead WWE into the future as the face of the brand. But then he gets accosted by Braun Breaker, who is angry and feels threatened by Obafemi in some way, shape, or form, as he should be. But yeah, they just keep having this standoff. And basically, throughout his match, where Joe Hendry was there and everything, he just kept staring at Obafemi as if he was like his worst enemy. And it was just so crazy to me. So I guess at some point we're gonna see these two fight and it's gonna be brutal and crazy. But I want Oba versus Roman real soon. I really do. And now Braun Breaker is upset at Paul Heyman for giving Oba some respect and everything and saying, oh, well, I guess you two are friends now. And I'm just like, bro, why would you even think that? He's been running around with the vision and with y'all for almost a year, for over a year now. And just because he gave Oba Femi respect after putting down his longest standing client, you want to get mad about it. Find another issue, please. And then to end Raw, we saw Rey Mysterio, who is acting as the GM of AAA, shake hands with Roman Reigns and proposition him for something, right? He was just like, look, I have a proposition for you. And Roman is kind of like being arrogant, like he always is, and wondering what it is that he has to say. So we fast forward to later on this week and find out that there's going to be a number one contenders tournament for Roman's World Heavyweight Championship in AAA, and the winner gets to face Roman in Raw on Raw in Mexico City next month. And the bracket has been made, as you can see, with Penta versus Laredo Kid, Psycho Clown versus La Parca, Dragon Lee versus El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., and Ray Phoenix versus El Fiscal. So I'm happy that AAA is being incorporated into all the shows. And this could be a huge opportunity for whoever wins this tournament. And, I'm glad that Lucha Wrestling is having, more of a bigger moment with WWE's involvement with AAA. It's really cool and very refreshing. So I can't wait to see who gets this opportunity. It's going to be awesome. But of course, Roman isn't just going to let anybody just roll up to him and take what's his. But I am excited to see who gets this chance. So that's all I loved from Raw. Now we're going to move to NXT. I just want to say that I feel like the tag team of Thea Hale and Jada Parker low-key has the vibes of Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss in the sense that Thea Hale sort of brings a lot more joy and happiness out of Jada Parker that we had not seen in a while. And I low key feel like that's the effect that Alexa Bliss had on Charlotte Flair and their friendship. And it's kind of refreshing to see this side of Jada after seeing her sort of like be sort of like the beautiful thug that we've seen her as for so long. I really like their dynamic, and I like the fact that they got the win over the Dungeon Dames on NXT Tuesday. It was really cool, and they have great chemistry as a tag team, and I just want more of them together because Thea just brings something out of Jada that we hadn't seen since she's been here. So I like it. And of course, I loved the underground match between Kendall Gray and Lola Vice for the NXT Women's Championship. This was the main event, as it should have been. Um, and these women tried to kill each other. I think Lola tried to kill Kendall when she knocked her and tripped her up on the stairs and she hit her ear. And everyone was asking her, like, are you okay? Are you okay to continue? And Kendall kept saying, I'm fine, I'm fine. But she kept stumbling and stumbling. And I was just like, oh my God, is she gonna get up? Like, this is crazy. Like, it was just so nuts to see um Kendall be as shook up as she was because it looked like she was just stumbling, like I could do it, I could do it, and then she just fell right back down, and I was just like, oh my God, it was just so nuts. But then just as soon as they went to commercial, they put the band-aid on Kendall's ear because it was bleeding. And then she comes to finally, and she continues to fight in the match. And there were moments where Lola even took advantage of hitting her on the side of her head where the ear was hurt, but Kendall kept fighting and she just kept fighting. And she even tried to submit her at one point, but it didn't work. And then at one point, when it looked like Kendall couldn't fight anymore, Ren Sinclair, her best friend, slapped her in her face, was like, come on, you can do this, wake up. And I was just like, dang, here again, another moment this week that lets you know what women's wrestling is all about. um, it was amazing. Kendall Gray wound up winning and retaining the women's NXT title. But this was a very hard fought match. It was very intense, as you can see. And this seemed like Lola's swan song. It looks like Lola really might be out of NXT now that she's lost it and now she's not undefeated in the underground anymore. Um, I was a little bummed out to see her undefeated streak get broken, but at the same time, Lola has done so much in NXT at this point that if she gets called up now, I'm okay with it. I'm cool with it. And then on top of that, after the show ended on social media, there was a video that came out of Damian Priest coming out to celebrate with Lola, and congratulate her and everything, because of course they're boyfriend and girlfriend. And it felt like this really was the end for Lola. So yeah, I can't wait to see what Lola does next. She's one of my faves, and she'll always be a history maker by being the first Cuban woman to win a WWE championship. So I'm really pumped for her future, and I can't wait to see what she does next. But this match was fantastic. Um, Grayson Waller shook the table. I know he had another promo, and I couldn't find the picture of the hoodie that he had on this past Tuesday, but it said soft, complacent, and just happy to be here. Mr. Man has essentially shaken the table of the NXT men's locker room and told them, look, y'all are soft and y'all are not hungry and y'all don't want it bad enough. And I'm here to take it all. And I am here to not play background or second fiddle to anybody or be in a faction like I used to be. Like, I am here to take over and win the NXT title that I never won. But of course, he has to blast through Cruz, Montana, in order to get to Tony D'Angelo. But I like this version of Grayson Waller, that's not focused on being like a viral pop star or anything else like that. He shook the table and he got on TV and even mentioned how he feels like the women are running circles around the men on NXT. And it's true. I've been saying that for weeks, that the women on NXT basically carry that show. It's better. Like, the women are just, they want it bad enough. The men are great. They're okay, but they're just not on the same level as the women. And Grayson is here to shake things up. And I like that. I like that he's here to do that. Also, I want to congratulate Tavion Heights and Miles Bourne for becoming the new NXT Tag Team Champions. And I also want to give big ups to Miles Bourne for being only the second person in NXT history to hold the tag title and the North American title at the same time, with the first being Adam Cole. So he's in really good company there. And the fact that they actually beat the Vanity Project was really nuts because they kind of had a stranglehold on those tag titles. So now they don't have any gold anymore. And Michael Lockwood keeps staring at Keanu Carver, which I understand because Keanu Carver is a hot man. But my God, it just looks like the Vanity Project is just falling on hard times lately. So I don't know, but I am pumped that Tavion Heights won his first championship in NXT. And I'm happy that he did it with his friend from the NQCC. And it seems like everybody is really popping off from the NQCC with the exception of Charlie Dempsey. Like, where is he? Where is he at? But either way, this was really cool to see. Now, moving into SmackDown. I don't care what anybody says. Jade Cargill versus Charlotte Flair deserved to be in the main event of SmackDown last night. And it was a really great match. It was really great. And I really feel like the only reason people are speaking against it is because they're used, here again, they're looking at Jade with this big microscope and making it seem like she's not doing enough to, improve her game and all this other trash. Do not believe it because this match was fantastic and it was well worth the main event on SmackDown. The way that this match would have carried on SummerSlam if things were different, it would have been great, but they did it on free television and they still did just as good. I'm going to really need for y'all to stop disrespecting Jade so much. I'm really tired of it because she performed well in this match against an absolute veteran in Charlotte Flair. They had great chemistry and I want to see them fight against each other again. This match was really good. I was locked in the whole time. I liked it. Um, and I'm gonna really need for y'all to just give Jade her respect because she did a phenomenal job in it. Um, yeah, it was really great and it was well worth the main event. Like this move right here drove me nuts. I could not believe she did this this spine buster off the top rope. I was like, oh my God, this is nuts. So this was a really good match. Don't let nobody fool y'all. Do not let online people who have probably never wrestled a match in their life try to tell you that this match is not good because it was. It just was. And I'm just tired of people holding Jade to such a higher standard that they don't hold anybody else to. I'm tired of it. This match was great. Now, of course, there were shenanigans afoot because even though Jade told the baddies, to stay back, they did it and they were still trying to cheat for Jade and everything. But Alexa Bliss came back with her arm in a sling, and I was just like, oh my God, so if your arm is in a sling, then what the heck is going on? And then she pulls out Lily and then everybody gets crunk about it, but then it gets dark. And we're just like, oh my God, it's dark. What's going on? And then the lights come back on. And as the baddies are standing there, they don't know that Tatum Paxley, the former NXT Women's Champion and NXT Women's North American Champion, then hopped on top of them and splashed them in order for Charlotte to get the upper hand, hit a natural selection from the top rope, and win. Women's wrestling is greater than everything else. It just is. It just is. This was a fantastic way to introduce Tatum Paxley to the main roster. It's up her is barking up her tree of creepy stuff like and spooky stuff. And Alexa being there for Charlotte, even as she's hurt, was really good too. Like this was great. I loved it. It was really fantastic. It was a great way to main event SmackDown. More of this, please, because this was great. I enjoyed it. Also, I enjoyed the chemistry that Tiffany Stratton, the Women's United States Champion, had with Chelsea Green. in their tag match, in their tag title match against Fatal Influence. Fatal Influence came out there and interrupted Chelsea's celebration as the WWE Women's Champion. But these two, they just have really good chemistry as a tag team. But as the match, came to a close and Fatal Influence retained their tag titles, Nia Jax came out there and stated her intentions to challenge Chelsea Green. And then, of course, Lash Legend was there and helped out with things. But I got irritated because as much as I love Nia Jax, I would love to see Lash Legend in this position to challenge for the title too. Um, because we've seen Nia and Lash sort of state their intention for wanting to get the tag titles back, but then you have Nia who's had this championship before wanting to get it back too. But my thing is, in the spirit of giving newer people opportunities, why can't Lash have it? It's like in this friendship, it's always about Nia, Nia, Nia. No, it needs to be about Lash. I want Lash to challenge Chelsea Green for that title and not Nia. I'm sorry. I love Nia down. I love, love, love her down. But I just feel like Lash deserves an opportunity at this point at that women's championship. When is she going to step into her, golden intentions outside of tag team stuff? I want more. I want more from Lash. And we have seen her challenge for the United States title before, but I think there just needs to be more consistent challenging on the part of Lash Legend as a star or as a future star. I want to see more of that. And then we had Nikki Bella cut a promo on Paige and talk about how she was essentially the weak link in the tag team with Brie Bella and hating that she cost Brie Bella the tag titles and cost them the loss and everything at SummerSlam, and that's why I had enough, and I'm just gonna destroy you, and I'm gonna make your life a living hell, and all of the above. And then Paige reacted on Twitter and said, "Look, if it weren't for me, Brie would not have been, the tag champion because I was the one that got the pin. But since you want to come at me like I'm crazy, fine, let's go." So hopefully we'll see a one-on-one with her and Paige, or maybe Nikki will find somebody else to stand in for Brie when it comes to the tag stuff and everything. But either way, I'm really still intrigued as to where they're gonna go with it. I hate that Brie is hurt. I hate it because that would have been cool in terms of tag team stuff with possibly AJ Lee, but we'll see where it goes. Now, baby, the men were spicy on SmackDown last night. When it comes to CM Punk and Kevin Owens, the word on the street is that they really don't like each other. And because of this, everybody was coming from backstage saying, "Look, y'all need to be professional. Y'all need to be professional." And they kept telling Nick Aldis and them, "Look, we can be professional. We can do this and all of the above." But of course, Kevin Owens gets on the microphone and says, "Look, even though I've been gone for a while, everybody's been telling me that you've changed and that you're not the same guy that you used to be." But he basically said, "Look, you're just the same arrogant sociopath I've always known you to be." And he called him arrogant because he always calls himself the best in the world, which I thought was interesting because why is it arrogance if you really believe that you're the best in the world? Why is that arrogance? Why is that seen as arrogance and just not a healthy dose of confidence? Because it's not like he's saying, everybody else is just trash. He just thinks he's the best. But okay. And then Punk essentially said, "Look, you really should show me some respect because I open doors for wrestlers like you. Because if it wasn't for me, you would be a 9 to 5er working the indies on the weekends and calling me for WWE tickets." And I thought that was really nuts, but it's true because I said on this show, when CM Punk first came back, that Punk essentially opened the door for people like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Finn Balor and so many other indie people or indie darlings, as what they would say, to be stars on a show like this because he thought it was great for those opportunities. He even said that back in the day, people would call him skinny fat because Punk as hot and as fine as I thought he was back in the day, and as hot and as fine as I think he is now, Punk was not the overly muscular athlete that was the archetype of a WWE superstar. He just wasn't. He never was. But yet and still, everybody connected to him because he felt like, the guy that scraped from the bottom in order to get every opportunity that he felt like he deserved. People related to that. So if it weren't for him, and if it weren't for his pipe bomb, there's a lot of people who just would not be on the top the way that they are. But Kevin Owens didn't want to do that. He said, "Look, it must be really lonely on that pedestal of yours where you call yourself the best in the world." But he did thank him for the determination to not let the wrestling business turn him into a miserable piece of shit. And so this was where everybody started shoving and fighting each other, and then they walked away. But either way, this is going to be a very heated rivalry, and I am 100% here for it. The words that they were saying to each other felt like they were coming from a very real place. I'm very happy and very pumped about where this could go. I really am excited because, yo, the idea that Punk would outwardly say that to Kevin, like, look, I'm really your OG. Like, I'm really like, you really need to respect me. Like, you are my son. It's just really crazy, but I'm excited. And also, I love Carmelo Hayes getting in Baron Corbin's face because what you're not going to do is jump the line, ruin Carmelo's opportunity at the United States Championship, and then cheat to win the United States Championship off a trick, and then make it seem like he shouldn't be getting up in your face. I'm so happy. I was so happy to see Carmelo Hayes get in his face the way he did last night. He said, "Look, if you think," he was like, "Oh, wait, no." He quoted Meek Mill in Dreams and Nightmares, and he said, "Hold on, wait a minute. You thought I was finished? Nah. You and me are going back and forth. We are fighting for this United States Championship in my hometown next week. See you later." And I was just like, yes, I am on team him. And I'm going to need for Baron Corbin to just cough up that United States Championship right now. Cough it up, give it up. You will not be cheating Carmelo out of his opportunity in his hometown. I know that usually when it comes to hometown stuff, WWE doesn't always want people to win in their hometown. But at the same time, I'm going to need for them to make an exception for my boy. Give Carmelo Hayes his things and stop keeping him off of pay-per-views. I'm tired of it. Give Carmelo his things, please. And then when it comes to more spicy stuff involving the men, Randy Orton decided to come to the ring when he wanted to, except for when Cody Rhodes called him out there at the beginning of the show. And he wanted to talk about, look, the reason why I did what I did. And then he gets cut off by Cody Rhodes, who wants to fight with him and ask him why. Like, why did you ruin my opportunity at SummerSlam for the title? And then Randy Orton was like, look, as long as I'm here, you will never hold that WWE championship because it's not just about me getting number 15. It's about keeping it away from you, you arrogant son of a bitch. And then and then Cody Rhodes looked at him and told him, look, if you look around, you know how you used to call yourself the legend killer, right? If you look around, you are the only legend left. So let's think about it. You always think about what legend are you going to kill. Nobody has ever thought to ask who is going to kill Randy Orton. And I was like, oh, y'all gonna stop playing. Because Cody even said in this promo, he was like, look, I don't have to be the good guy anymore. I can come after you with the full force and kill you and everything will be okay. And I'm just like, look, y'all gonna stop messing with this man and making it seem like he is not the same dude who wrestled in a Hell in a Cell match against Seth Rollins with with a torn pec. Y'all keep playing with this man like he's not crazy, and I'm sick of y'all playing in his face. Randy Orton, I think you've met your daddy strong now. You really have met your daddy strong. And for those who don't know what that means, my grandma used to say that as a form of saying, look, you really have written a check that your ass can't cash. So I really think that this is going to be really good stuff. there is just a level of new air that's been breathed into WWE since after SummerSlam, and I just cannot wait. They are putting the pedal to the metal, and I am very excited about it. Next Friday is going to be a big championship Friday because the United States Championship is on the line. I believe there are two other titles on the line as well. And then Kevin Owens also stated his intention to challenge for CM Punk's title in Toronto. Like the stuff is really popping off in a good way, and I'm really excited about it. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. So that's all of what I loved in wrestling this week, along with my trip stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching the show live, and for continuing to support me during my life changes and stuff. Of course, know that you can find and follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow the show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. That's HARDYWRESTLEPOD on Twitter. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel at The Hardy Wrestling Podcast with the logo up there in the corner with HWP in the middle of the diamond shaped ring with Hardy Wrestling Podcast on the bottom. You can also listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and everywhere else you get your audio shows. And also follow me on TikTok because I also post clips on there. You can follow me on TikTok at Stephanie_Hardy and just continue to support your girl as I continue to grow. Steph and Cat Talk WoW will more than likely come back next week because a new episode of WoW Superheroes is out this weekend, and I cannot wait to get back into my girls of wrestling over there in Las Vegas. Oh my God, I miss them so much. Um, and I miss my girl Katrina from NCAT We Trust. Continue to support her. And we're gonna get back together and do the WoW thing because yo, I miss my girls too much. And there's just a lot to get into with that. And of course, new episodes of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast do go up most of the time every other week. I try my best because sometimes work can get really tough and I really need to lay down and stuff and everything else. But either way, just continue to support the show and listen to past episodes and present episodes as well. And share and repost the clips as you see me post them everywhere all over my social media. And just continue to support the vibe. So, of course, this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl, Stephanie Hardy. And until next time, bye, y'all.